com/Discord. Let's talk to Matt. What's going on, Matt?
All right. How's everybody doing? Kelly, nice to have you back.
Good to be back. Don't look forward to it next week.
Thanks for calling in.
Absolutely. I think I'm doing on the opposite side of the spectrum from a lot of you guys here, but I have 3 points mainly that I wanted. But, like a couple of callers before you, I was also in the Navy. I was an electrician's mate in the nuclear field. And I personally know the stigma that everybody has against mental and emotional health. In fact, that's the reason why I was let go from there. I mean, seeking any sort of mental or emotional help automatically puts a target on your back.
It does. Yeah. No. You are absolutely right. And that's not just a self-enforced stigma, that there is sometimes consequences beyond, beyond what you realize when going and seeking treatment. I do understand that.
I tell people I see a therapist and I get weird looks. Like, I'm LGBT twice over. You think I don't see a therapist?
Well, and I think the stigma, especially the social stigma around seeking therapy or, wanting good mental health, I think that needs to go away. It's been eroding. I mean, we used to treat people who had mental problems as, like lepers. There was, and I criticized Ronald Reagan earlier in the episode for closing down a lot of the asylums. A lot of those places needed to be closed down or fully reformed, and instead of reforming them, they just closed them down. But they were not terribly good systems for helping people receive help. The help that people get when they seek out mental treatment these days is a lot better. The stigma still remains, and yeah, you've got a great point there.
Well, it's true, but even take how the discussion revolves around mental health even today in the wake of a mass shooting. Like, we talk about how we're not mentally ill, shouldn't have access to guns. And it almost seems like people are equating mentally ill or mentally unstable to homicidal maniac, when a lot of times that's not the case. We have people like you and me who are fully capable of handling it. We have our ways that we deal with it, whether through exercise, through medication. We are perfectly capable of leading functional, normal lives, even with, things like depression or anxiety or things of that nature.
Yeah. The thing is, and I think I see where you're going. The thing is, when I bought my gun, I did go through a full background check, and I had to wait 2 weeks before I could get it. So, and I had I had zero fucking problem with either one of those things.
Mm-hmm. And it made you feel better?
It made me feel a whole lot better.
Well,
yes.
And that's the thing. Like, if they came out and said, you have to wait a month before you can take this pistol home.
Or if they came back to me and said, you're currently in therapy for depression, we're going to need to do some additional screening measures, I would have been okay.
All right. Yeah, exactly.
That's fine.
I'm up for more screening measures, and if you determine you are definitely a danger to yourself and others, maybe don't sell me the pistol.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem with any of those things.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that comes to bring my second point. It's like, with regards to like definitions and other things like that. I mean, we could talk about like needs. We could talk about wants, military style, things of that nature. But I think a lot of the problem is that people on both the left and right, we start throwing all these terms around. We're so busy trying to defend our side and trying to sort out the bullshit that it becomes impossible to like reach any sort of common ground where any real productive dialogue can take place. We've become real defensive. We're not using we're not defining our terms the same, and that becomes a major problem. But we've also, because which also brings me to my third point. Even if we do, even if we do have the month-long waiting period, even if we do come to the common ground, even if we do find, quote unquote, common sense regulations that we can put in place, all of that bullshit is going to be made irrelevant if we don't have our government agencies enforcing the laws that we already have. We've already seen this twice now. We saw this with the Texas church shooter. I mean, he was dishonorably discharged for beating his wife. Yeah. And in the state of Texas, you can't own a gun. But because the Air Force didn't pass along that information, he was able to go right in and buy the weapon that he used. And even now with this Cruz guy, the FBI has had a lead on him since September.
Yeah, no. I on this, I am 100% with you. The FBI has had a complete and utter failure on this one. There were so many people so many people who tried to raise a red flag about this kid that there is no way that he should have been able to go within 50 feet of buying a fucking gun. No way.
Absolutely.
No way. And dude, I am 100% with you right there. The enforcement, on the enforcement end, yes, they've got to be able to get this shit right. And there is always shit that falls through the cracks. There always is, and that's not an excuse for the FBI. I hold them 100% responsible and accountable for this situation. But, you know, again, it brings me back to my point that that doesn't preclude the discussion from happening. It's still, I mean, that's, to me, in my mind, that's even more of a reason for the discussion to happen, because law enforcement should be on the same page when it comes to this kind of shit that the public is on.
Oh, absolutely. But even you know, we sorry, brain's working a little too fast here. But no. Again, like this, and this is one of the reasons why I myself am very hesitant to start saying do something or pass laws or anything like that, because we see that enforcement just keeps falling through. Yeah. And if enforcing our current laws isn't helping, what good is more regulation or more laws going to do that couldn't have already stopped this? I mean, we've already seen what happened with, you know, going back to your example with 9/11. You know, we put restrictions. A week later, and now we still see those ramifications today. Even though we've seen how bloated and useless the TSA has become, and they haven't caught a single goddamn terrorist. But it's like it becomes very easy to try and justify it or justify passing these laws and regulations, especially when emotions are so high.
Sure.
Or when, and it becomes very easy to not see any possible consequences or side effects that could come as a result. So I think that's also one of the reasons why we all the conversations. I mean, I'm not opposed to having the conversations. You know, before the biters are cold. Let's have the conversations. Let's talk about it. But at the same time, I think we all just need to take a breath. We all need to just sit down and think.
You know, to go back to my previous point about the way that marijuana is being regulated right now, it's especially right now, it's kind of difficult to find a dispensary in Michigan, especially in certain counties. Now, of course, there's the 8 Mile Green Mile that exists, which is the largest concentration of dispensaries. But outside of 8 Mile and that Green Mile, you know, dispensaries are still kind of difficult to find, and many of them are being shut down by law enforcement. Now, gun shops, when you're driving through Detroit, it's sort of like that Dave Chappelle joke where he's like, you know, you're driving into the hood when it goes from normal Kmart, and then it goes gun store, liquor store, gun store, gun store, gun store, liquor store. Where the fuck you taking me? That is the proliferation of the people who can sell guns. And when there's more people who can sell guns than the government can keep track of, or the government can regulate, or the government can even oversee their actions, that I see as problematic. And I see that as the first thing that anyone can address, is trying to get some of these fly-by-night establishments off the fucking, out of business. And it sucks to say, hey, put people out of business, but you know what? There's enough dispensaries in Michigan that I've gone to where I could tell, oh, these guys set this shit up with some glass cabinets overnight, and there's no paperwork that's being filed. And you know what? When I know that, I take my money and I fucking leave.
Yep.
I leave. I don't support that shit because I want... Being a supporter of medical marijuana, you want people to do it legally, you want people to do it right, and you want that oversight to be there, because then you know moving forward that you're insulated from criticism. And I think that Second Amendment, those that really do believe in the Second Amendment should be a lot more critical of the way that guns are distributed and sold than necessarily the way that they're consumed or purchased. Because I understand you as a consumer or a purchaser has private concerns about the way that you might be able to access guns moving forward. But I think that if we paid more attention to the way that they're sold and who's distributing them and how they're being distributed, marketed, and sold, that may more effectively address the problem moving forward.
Yeah, I go back. Maybe, but here's the point, though. It might not help. It might, but you have to do something. You were kind of hitting on it all the way through. The status quo is obviously not okay.
Right.
Something has to change, and you know what? It's not going to be what either side wants. One side is going to want nothing to change, and one side is going to want it to be a humongous reformation project. And the odds are you're not going to get either of those.
You're going to have to meet somewhere in the middle.
Right. And I think, isn't that what the hashtag, that was it, common sense gun reform?
Yeah.
We're not asking for, some people are, but I don't think I would ask for a ban on all guns, but there is some common sense practices I think it's time to take a look at. And you're right, gun owners. It might be something that, you would look at and go like, well, that could infringe on me in a way, but here's the thing. Americans are showing more and more they can't be necessarily trusted just to have anything they want. That's a scary thing to have to say out loud. But I'm tired of seeing a shooting happening every fucking month.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm tired of that goddamn Onion article that I have to see every fucking time this happens. And all they do is change the picture out. Yep. It's the same damn article otherwise.
Yep.
It's great writing for them. It's easy. But I'm sick of this shit. Why is it dangerous to go to school?
Well, and one of the things that I think upsets me the most about it is we've said in when it comes to loot boxes and gaming and stuff like this on this show multiple times, right? Do something yourself before the government does. Obviously, the government's not going to do anything in this case. But what I don't get is that the NRA basically has free reign to do what they want. So they could very easily decide what these regulations are to protect themselves and their rights.
They could be very proactive on
Exactly, but instead they just choose to do nothing.
Because it's going to hurt their bottom line. It's going to hurt their ability to make money.
And it's fucked up.
Yeah. All right, that's going to be it for Final Encountercast. Guys, thank you for joining us for this, difficult discussion.
Not an easy one.
No, never is. But, we do appreciate it. We also appreciate all of our callers, whether you agreed or not. And that really doesn't matter. The discussion is what's important. Yeah. And it's through debate like that we kind of come to some sort of common ground where we can agree. I guess my only bit of advice moving forward is to keep your ears and mind open. And, everyone has opinions, and it's fine to exercise your ability to express your opinion, but you got to listen to other people.
Have the discussion.
Don't just
lecture.
Yeah. All right, that's going to be it for Final Encountercast. For my crew,